Record on the screen. All right, that way. And then when we're done here, I'm going to go ahead and send it all. I'm going to send you the recording to you guys, and then we will be sending it. I'll be sending it out by email so everyone can get access to it. My daughter brought me my dinner plate, and I'm just so not, excuse me, sorry about the noise, not ready to eat right now.
That's so sweet, though.
It is sweet. Yes. Yes, she's very sweet. So the why are we here? Does everyone know why we are here? This is like my favorite. Why are we here? So the agenda for the night's evening, or for the for this meeting, is basically it's the psychology of taking a dream, idea, a wish, a desire, and transferring it over into action. It is probably the hardest thing in the world to overcome mentally, because we all talk about what we want, what we dream, and what we desire, but then putting it into action is a whole nother story. And there's a lot of process, a lot of mental and emotional stuff that takes place between point A, the dream, the desire, and the actual action and the execution. We're seeing this a lot with light workers. We're seeing this a lot with people wanting change in the world, but no one's doing anything. We're just talking about it. And this is where we get a lot of people who just get hung up on talking about it, but no change is ever coming out of it. And the reason for that, there's a lot of different elements that are taking into place. So this whole meeting is going to be me breaking down all the different parts as to what's going on psychologically speaking between dream, desire, and putting it into action. So just to confirm, we're all on the right page, right? Okay. All right. And if you are not familiar with my work, I have 30 years in philosophy, psychology, sociology. I run Shifting Perspectives, which is my podcast where I just analyze philosophy all day long, and I break down logical argument on psychology, philosophy, sociology, and all of this fun stuff. So if you guys want to interject, you're more than welcome to. If you guys want to rebut something I say, please do. You are absolutely invited to open discussion and go over something. If you are having a personal issue with something where you're wanting me to pull it apart for you and analyze exactly your particular situation, that is absolutely welcome as well. If you want to go off on a tangent and present something different, we can absolutely discuss that also. So, or if it's way too off topic, I might say, let's bookmark that. And I got my note cards ready to go if that's the case. So are we all set? Okay. So when we have desire, dream, and plans, that's basically coming in from our imagination. It's coming in from our identity, and that is our center core of what we love, who we are, what our ethics are, and what we believe. From the three core pieces of our identity, who we are, what we love, and what we believe, and what we ethically value, these three things make up dreams, hopes, wishes, and ideas. And from there, we basically prioritize, or we shift our priority into what these things are. And that's when we start talking about it. The real crux of all of this actually comes into comfort and our relationship with discomfort and our emotional relationship with anger. This is really a huge part of this. I noticed in my research, when I was looking at people who talked a lot about action versus inaction, people who desired and wanted but never resulted in anything out of it, what I noticed is the people who did something, the difference between the people who did something and the people who didn't do something was their amount of discomfort that they went through, and also their relationship to the emotion anger. And what I saw was you have a spectrum of comfort, and there's your comfort zone. And then you have your growth zone. From your growth zone, we get into pain right there, where we have a surplus of discomfort, which turns into pain. And so much pain then turns into trauma. That's when we start to rewire our nervous system. And the reason why we do this is because we are not applying change prior to trauma, prior to pain, right at that max point of discomfort. There should be a switch that goes off that converts us over to making a change happen, and that would bypass the significant pain that eventually leads to trauma. Because we're bypassing that, it's not happening, and instead we're seeing trauma and mental illness takes place. Now, in order for that to happen, we need the emotion anger. And what I've been noticing is a person will have comfort or discomfort. They'll be toggling between here and there, but every time they get close to the emotion anger, they bail on themselves, or they go back to their comfort zone, or they find a way to siphon the anger in a very avoidant behavior. And as a result, anger never happens. And that we are in a society where anger is really frowned upon. Anger is hated, and anger is something that is not tolerated at all. So a lot of people are terrified of anger because they associate being abused or violence or aggression with anger. So there's a severe aversion to anger. Now, there are 3 stages to anger. The first stage of anger being violence, aggression, and we see a lot of projection happening here. This is exactly where abuse happens, is that first stage. This is common for people with lesser education levels, such as 1st through 4th perspective. By the 5th perspective, 6th perspective, this elevates to talking about our problems. This is when we start communicating. This is where a lot of us are right now, with that 6th perspective mentality of, okay, I'm ready for change, but we're just talking about it. The 3rd level of anger is change. And the difference between the levels is literally like an inability to siphon the pressure. There's like a pressure buildup. And this is where, when I was looking at emotions, I noticed that there was a relation, an emotional energy that was very similar to physics. In physics, in order to get momentum, you have to have a buildup of pressure. And after a certain point, the top pops, so to speak, and that's the explosion that occurs, kind of like what you see in a spark plug. It ignites, and that is the motion, the motion that propels you forward. It's the catalyst that propels you forward. Now you've got momentum. That's where inspiration comes from. That's where motivation comes from. And that's where we take where we are and what we want and actually put it into action, put it into use. And in order to do that, you need to tap into a surplus of discomfort and then allow the anger to step in on that elevated, okay, I've had enough of X, let's go ahead and make a change. And it's that point of, I have had enough. But we don't get to that point until we suffer a certain amount of time. And that's it right there, is we have to increase our suffering and get us to that point of 3rd stage anger in order to convert that into that ignited spark plug to turn it over into actual activity. I suspect that if we know this, we might be able to just bypass that and convert it directly into action, because now we're aware of, okay, it's motivation combined with discomfort combined with. The problem is we have such an aversion to anger that we're all stalling out. People who struggle with addiction, people who struggle with avoidant behavior will find ways to siphon off the anger, or they'll suppress the anger entirely. And as a result, we're not seeing any change, which is why in the 1960s with the race riots, we saw change happen after that, is because the anger finally siphoned to the point of significant discomfort until things finally changed. And every time you look throughout history, every time we see a point of change happening, the 1700s with the French Revolution, the 1700s with the American Revolution, the Battle of Culloden in Scotland, it was because the discomfort combined with the anger, and it finally got to the point where they made the change required to make it happen. So there was a period of significant discomfort. Now, the entire world right now is definitely on a pressure cooker. Everyone's feeling it. There's a lot of discomfort. There's a lot of pent-up energy. We're very angry, and we're promptly doing absolutely nothing about it. And the reason why is because we are not embracing or allowing the anger, because our society has conditioned this completely out of us. And what's going to happen as a result of that, unless we change this, is by avoiding the anger, by siphoning it off, we're going to just stay in limbo in this very uncomfortable place indefinitely. Literally, anger is the missing ingredient to make this thing explode and become a spark plug that ignites all of it. Now, once that happens, now we're looking at action. We're looking at plans. We're looking at, all right, what's it going to take to sit down and start building this? And that is where I have my whole community that I'm building. There's a lot of other light workers in their community that they're putting together, that they're building. And once you start getting to that point, it's going to be like the thing that just finally pops, that has this whole thing exploding. And we're seeing it with the wars happening right now. We're up to 2 wars now. It's going to get more. And America's chill about it. It's as if everybody is seeing these wars and no one cares. No one's like, there's a moment of, oh, that's sad. And then we just shut it down. And that was quite the opposite that we saw back in the 70s when we had Vietnam War going on. Vietnam War, we were over there, we were dying, and there was a lot of anger happening. And again, it flipped, and it was the volcano that it needed to make the change happen that we're not seeing today, because we have completely diffused anger. So how do we get angry? That's my question. How do we get angry?
Yeah, well, we have to practice expressing anger. Any blocked emotions we have to practice doing it. I just had a session. I received a healing session just before this on that. It was an all love session from Lena in a spiritual group, which she gifted. Yeah, and yeah, so someone that I was angry at, she said to go back to that place and then say what you would say. Like
We're back down to communication. But that's the problem, is communication is a right way to go, but it's not problem solving. That's what I'm saying. There's when you talked, what precisely, if we can use that as an example, what precisely were you talking about? What was the thesis of the conversation when you talked about the anger?
Okay, I was angry at my mom for hitting me when I dropped some juice and she hit me with a spoon. I was also angry at someone who like stole money from me. He borrowed money from me, but he betrayed, right, and used deception and didn't pay it back.
Right. And how was when you walked yourself through that conversation, was it just gaining understanding, or did you come up with a solution?
I didn't get to a solution yet. It was moving. It was starting to express it. That's all at that point. It's starting to feel something. Like
Right.
one thing that we dealt with was when you at the end of someone's life. So like for my parents, so with my dad, it opened my heart, and I felt love.
Okay,
Like,
yeah,
and more than just that. Yeah, it's
right.
the
You're
main
talking
thing.
about forgiveness. Right. So you converted the anger through understanding into forgiveness.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
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 Which actually diffused the anger.
Yeah. We do have to express it though, right? And there's rage. So
You
because
don't
you
have
said, how do
to.
you don't have to rage?
No, expression is validation. That's really what you're looking at when you express it. And that's done through understanding. You don't have to share that with anybody. It's something you can just, it's the logical argument you're looking for in your own mind. So once you have, so you don't have to express it. What you have to do is understand it. Once you get the logical understanding, you have the comprehension and you're done. Now the question is, what do you go now you have to enter problem solving, and this is where change takes place.
You're only living in the mind though. What about the heart? Because you're saying you don't have to express it, but what about also the feeling in the body, like somatic healing and stuff?
Emotions are
consequences
to logic. 100%. So you don't feel something, or you feel hurt because you're actually feeling an emotion called cognitive dissonance, which is the illogic of you not comprehending what happened to you. As a result, your mind is telling your heart, this hurts, because you have cognitive dissonance, which is the illogical or the lack of harmony between how you feel, what you love, and the fact that somebody betrayed you, the belief. So you have a contradiction between what you love and the belief, and that is illogical. When you believe that someone, in this case your mother, you love her and she hurt you with a spoon, now that creates cognitive dissonance, which is logical. Emotions are highly logical. They are not separate. They are 100% the other side of the coin, and they are integrated. They are supposed to be integrated. So when you have something where you love your mother and your mother hurt you, that now creates a logical fallacy. So when you work out the logical fallacy, the understanding removes the cognitive dissonance, which removes the logical comprehension, which allows you the emotion to be eased and you feel better. Emotions are a consequence to logic, 100%. So that's absolutely just a consequence of you figuring it out logically. You don't have to express yourself. Expression is 100% validation, which you do, which you understand, which you get when you clear up the logical fallacy. The problem is, or the focal is, problem solving so that it doesn't happen again. That is the focal point. Because if you're in an abusive situation and you have person A abusing you, you have something you don't like. Let's say you have a job that you can't stand. So you are being abused by an employer at this job. Now you can understand the logic of it. In fact, this is torture. This is the psychology of torture. Is when you are put in a torture session, you have to logically comprehend what's being done to you. And by processing the logic of what's being done to you and the roles of everyone who's torturing you, it puts you in a position where you are in a much better control of the situation. You avoid the cognitive dissonance, you accept what's going on, and you endure the torture. But it's not problem solving. If you are in a situation of torture, you're in a position where you cannot escape. That opens up a whole nother realm of psychology. We're not going to get into that yet. Let's assume for a minute that you can escape. What would you do to prevent it from happening again? Problem solving is where you talk about prevention. Okay. So that's the question. Now we're in a society, we feel the pressure building up. We're all uncomfortable. I'm looking at it going, I understand the logic of why everyone's uncomfortable. That's where sociology comes in. So now you want to convert it from A, where everybody is now, over to B, which is literally, let's make the change. Let's do all the things that we think are awesome. And the reason why we're not doing what we think are awesome ideas is because we aren't suffering enough. Because we keep, basically, instead of problem solving, we're just expressing, validating, and then we're dealing with the emotion, but then the next wave of discomfort comes up. We're not actually preventing the abuse from coming back. So the abuse comes again. We go through the emotions again. The abuse comes again. We go through but we're not preventing. So prevention is actually, problem solving is actually the key to change. So the question is, what are we doing to problem solve the problem from reoccurring?
So personally for me, anger is a feeling that I do not feel a lot, and that is a problem. That is a big problem. Because I personally react, instead of through anger, I react in disappointment mostly to myself that, hey, I didn't do enough or something like that. But recently, and this is a totally new thing, but I was pretty mad at my mom too. So I totally get that. That is not a fun feeling. You know, your mom loves you, but sometimes it can be a little much. And so as time went on and I processed it a little bit more, I learned that anger is basically the body's way of saying, hey, that wasn't right. And the correct way that personally I feel to go through the feeling anger is just to sit, think with yourself, think like give it a pause before you react. See, like, was this worth reacting this much to? And sometimes it is, and that's totally fine. Sometimes you have to step up and do something to fix an issue, but sometimes it's just, you need to sit with yourself, cut someone off, and just leave it to that.
Right, yeah. That was the other thing, is your example was referring to in the present moment of now, whereas Bevan's example was in the past, resolving past problems. So completely different situation, completely handled differently, because now he has to process an old situation that's no longer posing an immediate threat. Whereas what you are referring to is setting boundaries and imposing or preventing an immediate threat. Whereas his example was something where, okay, it's the example is, or the situation is already long since over and it's no longer an issue. So the problem may already be solved. That being said, taking it away, we're looking at a societal situation right now where in this particular moment, everyone's unhappy. Everyone's miserable with the way the system is set up. We present solutions or ideas. Hey, wouldn't it be better if? But then no one's organizing it. No one's doing it. And we're just instead looking at it going, okay, now let's do the next step. We've got a plan in place. We have elements. We've got everything all ready to go. Now to take action. To take action, that's where problem solving comes in. And it's basically transmuting trauma or transmuting anger into something that nurtures and grows. Transmutation is really it. It's yes, you communicate. And then the communication is fantastic. See, it's not communication. It's problem solving. It's a completely different creature altogether. I read a romance novel once. It was a really bad novel. It made me angry because it was just so offensive to the way women were depicted. I threw down the book and I said, I'm going to write something better. And I did. I sat down and I wrote my book. I transmuted the anger of this romance novel over to my own book. Now, if you are with somebody or in a situation where instead I had just vented and talked about it and worked through the emotions, I would not have a physical book that is now published and available and out there. That's what I'm talking about. Do you want to communicate? Yes. Is communication better than violence? Yes. But is there something better? Yes, absolutely. And this is really the crux of it. There's this thing in our head that says communication is the answer. No, it's not. Communication is not the answer. Not when you want change. If you want to resolve a conflict, yes, then it's important. But if you're wanting to make change, no, communication is not the end. It's a stepping stone to transmutation of something you don't like into what you do want. And that transmutation is the change. It's taking X and turning it into something B, and it's using anger. It's literally taking anger and transferring anger into inspiration, into motivation. So anger becomes motivation because with anger, that is one emotion that is fueled on one question. What do you want? That is really the core of all anger. You wanted something. Your identity, your desires and your dreams were X. You wanted, and it didn't happen, or it's not happening. So you got angry. Now, immediately the answer is somebody projects, somebody's abusive, somebody's violent. But we're not there anymore. We're not foundationals. That's 1 through 4 perspective. The next one is, well, you can talk about the problem. You can communicate it. And I'm going, well, that's great and a great alternative to violence, but let's go to something bigger. Let's transmute that anger from what do you want? Well, what I want is a world where money doesn't exist, where we don't need money. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about a world where I don't want money because I hate my job. I hate the situation I'm in. I can't stand what's around me. Is it possible? Let's ask that first question. So what do you want? I want a world where we don't need money. Now, there's going to be a lot of people saying, yeah, well, good luck with that. And then the sarcasm will row in. We don't need that. Then there will be a lot of people saying, you can't have that. I don't need a bunch of can't doers right now. Okay, let's throw out the can't doers. Now, if you look into economics, there are a lot of places in the world that actually do function without money. It's called a moneyless system. This is possible. This was done before. Money is new. It's something that only came into existence around the 14th century, 8th century, depending upon where you are in the world. And there are still places that don't have a monetary system. So don't tell me that money can't be something that doesn't exist when clearly it can be. So now let's look at how to transmute what do I want, what do we want, over into actual action. So by using the desire of what I want and then taking the anger emotion and using it as motivation and inspiration, it propels the desire of want. I want it so bad, I'm going to do something about it. What are you going to do about it? I am going to propose a moneyless system. Now, I ran an entire business once for 5 years off of a moneyless system. I know it can be done. I know what it looks like. So now we're talking about action. Where do we want this? How far do we want to go? What is it going to take to get this up and running? And now you're looking at society, you're looking at building community, but it all starts with the what do you want? And don't talk about what's possible, what's not possible. Don't focus on what we can and can't do, because that's for the can't doers. I want solutions, problem solving. That's what we're here for. And this applies 100% to your own life problems, your own life, your own abuse, your own situation, whatever you've got going. It's the same thing. Now let's go bigger. Let's apply it to society. We have a little community here. We've got 4 people. What do you want? What do you dream? And let's talk about a plan to make it happen. Go.
Okay. Okay, awesome. And also we have to ask ourselves why we want it too. The what and the why too.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be that would be under the ethics of why. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now, the big thing that I'm noticing out there a lot, go ahead, Bevan.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just going with your idea. It's freedom. Yeah, we want people to be free. Everyone should be free, and they deserve to use their gifts and like live the way they want to. So they shouldn't be coerced to some other system and forced to be smaller than what they're meant to do. So so because not enough money and then they don't have the opportunity or whatever, we have to change it so they could have an opportunity. Because we just have to restructure the system. So if we interview that person, we find out what they want to do, what are they good at, like what do they love, find out their motivation and stuff like that.
What they are good at. This is something that I keep coming up. I hear this a lot. Well,
naturally. Yeah, what comes naturally to them, their gifts. Comes naturally.
It's anything can be learned. It's the desire of, like, you have somebody and they, for the first time in their life, get to a forge and they start playing around with blacksmithing. They've never touched a blacksmith's anvil before. They're terrible at it, but boy, does it make them so happy. Now, right there, it's the happiness and it's the joy that tells you that is what they should be doing. They're happy in their joy. Now, immediately in our society as it stands right now, people default to, oh, well, that didn't give me happiness, or I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it, so I shouldn't do it. And I have seen so many people shoot down dreams and desires because they're not good at it yet. And that's a problem. It's like, well, why aren't you pursuing it? Why aren't you getting apprenticed? Vocational schools are one of the best things for this. And what we're talking about, by the way, is pooling resources, building a community where everyone contributes their own resources. This is how I did it back in 2015 when I had my company. It was all for authors. People would come in and they're like, well, I have a book, I want to market it. No money at all. It was, okay, what else can you give us? So I had people who were like, well, I'm a data entry specialist, I'm a psychologist, I'm a manager. I had people I had one guy from Kern, a physicist, who was contributing his skills into the company. So I had literally this massive 800 people all pooling their resources together in contribution to market my book, and I will also lend you this skill set. Now, the skill set can be whatever you want. It could be, if you're good at drawing, if you're good at graphics, you could be contributing to the marketing department. If you're good at copyright, you could be contributing to that department. If you're good at word of mouth and networking, you could be contributing to that department. So it's very much a pool the resources together. Ask the question, what is it you're bringing? What can you contribute for this absolute like-minded cause? And you start pooling together your resources. Now, today was an excellent example of this. I went to the grocery store with my children. We bought groceries, and there was 4 bags to carry between the 3 of us. My daughter was not feeling well. She had a sore leg. She had a sore shoulder. And she was afraid. We all had bags to carry. And she finally got to the point where I stopped the whole us walking home and I said, what's going on? And she expressed that she was sore. So I took her bags from her. So she carried no bags and I carried her bags for her. And then the children and I entered into a discussion about it. What about her doing her share? And I said, you know, that's the purpose of a community. That is the purpose of a resource pool. Not everyone can carry the full load all the time. We do need rest. We do need break. Our society does not tolerate this. It expects everyone to carry their burden 100% of the time, always. That is hyper independence. The whole purpose of the third perspective is to take independence and dependence and integrate them. But you can't do it without a working community to help you out. So that if you do get to that point where you say, look, I need a break, I can't function, ideally, the rest of the community would step in and carry you. Now, there's going to be days where you pump surplus and you grind and you feel fantastic. And you're just like, wow, I'm just loving how much extra work I'm doing. I'm cranking like 50, 60 hours a week and I'm loving it. You're going to burn out. And when you hit burnout, you go the other extreme, which is okay. But in the society where we are right now, we go. We're expected 60 hours out and there's no break. There's no rush. You're expected to carry your load. Yes, Leah, go ahead.
So I actually struggled with a situation like that today. And Lace knows, she's in my choir. So I usually sing my heart out, and just kind of, I'm the only second year this year, so I sing my heart out to try and just kind of make sure my section knows their part. And today I wasn't able to sing out. And so, Lace, we can't hear you, but go ahead and say it.
No, I cannot hear you at all, Lace. Not at all. It's all right. No rush. Absolutely no rush.
It's okay, hon. We're patient. Not yet.
Oh, I think let me see here. No.
Is she connected?
She is connected. I'm just not seeing.
Lace,
Can you type? I was going to say, if you type it in to the messaging, we'll be able to read it that way.
Is she frozen or is she?
No, I think she's looking for a solution.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah, no, sorry. I've never used video chat on this computer before. But yeah, usually she's overpowers everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Whoop. Stop, cat.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very much taking your turn and everyone coming together for basically pooling the resources. And it's that shared, oh, you're not okay, you're struggling, let me carry your load for you, give you time to rest, because we know that we're all going to have that human moment where we're also going to need a rest. I love calling on Ubuntu. I love this word so much. It's one of my favorite words, Ubuntu. Ubuntu is from, I believe, Nigeria. It is a Nigerian word. And there's no direct translation into English as to what Ubuntu means, but this is the best example. There was a monk, Jay Shetty, actually. He's the one I heard the story from. And he was in Nigeria at the time, and they were doing a competition with the children where all the children could race and compete, and whoever won the race would get the candy at the end. When they signaled the children to start the race, the children froze. They took hand in hand, and they all walked simultaneously to the end of the finish line, so they all crossed precisely at the same moment. There was no competition. They completely annihilated the competition. And then they got the candy and they all shared the candy. And he said, what was that? And they said, Ubuntu. It means, how can I rejoice and have joy knowing that my others, my friends, and my family are suffering? It is an understanding that we are in this together and we suffer together. It is an absolute coming together and union of making sure that everyone's joy is shared. Absolutely beautiful concept on this. It's something that around it really is. Another flip side of Ubuntu, same culture, This is my favorite. By the way, these are people who live off of a non-monetary system. Because you don't have money, you have to fall back on community. Money replaces community. So what happens is if you have one person who's upset in the community, the entire clan will come around and unite everybody in a hug. They will pull the person who's feeling sad or depressed, and it will be a massive group hug. They will hum all on the same frequency, and they will not release that person until that person feels joy and comfort again. Now,
And
this
no
is
one-
not, go ahead.
No one gets left behind.
No one gets left behind. And it doesn't mean that emotions aren't allowed. It is a camaraderie of, you are going through a sad time, but you don't have to go through it alone. And that is such a massive, huge part of their culture. That combined with Ubuntu, if you take those philosophies and bring them together into this concept of a pooled resources, in addition to this concept of carry what you can, but not at the sacrifice of the self. And in our society right now, our society does not prioritize the self. It sacrifices the self. It's very much a martyrdom society. And if you aren't willing to martyr yourself, you are shamed for that. Big problem. Big problem.
Yeah.
It is absolutely destruction of the self, destruction of community. So that now, and this is where I get very political, is, I promise I won't go haywire with it. What you see is a government that is the narcissist. The acting narcissist is the government. And each one of us is an individual empath abused by the narcissist. And the narcissist says, I don't want anyone talking with anybody else. So we're isolated. And that is exactly what's happened. We are each individually so isolated that there's no connection. There's no community. We are so abused in our own isolation that we have no idea. We think we're alone. And I'm sitting here, I see you. You'll talk in just a second. We're ready to say, I know how to take down a narcissist. You start talking to each other. Let's start talking. Okay, go ahead, Devin.
Yeah, absolutely. Start talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say it's also caring about each person, right? It's caring about the others in the community.
Yeah.
And with what so caring about them. Yeah. And then also with the, so then you have a bunch of people, well, they're all separated and then pitted against each other in competition.
Very much. Yeah.
Right. You said with money, then there's competition instead of community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is
divide and conquer is happening.
What, say that once
then,
more.
like I say, divide and conquer, that's happening.
Yes.
So then now we have to unite, and that's why it's so great. You're doing that, uniting light workers.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do. Talk and organize, right? We have to organize.
Yeah, it's called
And
radical. Yes. Radical collaboration is what I'm looking at doing. It's not just talking about it, it's propelling it forward. And the first thing is talking about it, coming up with a plan, just expanding it all out. And yeah, it starts right here. So what I'm looking at doing is basically weekly meetings to start, where it's getting everybody on the same page, getting all of our resources together. Now, this is where I struggle with rules. Rules are something that you should have for yourself. The moment you take a rule and you put it on someone else, that's a projection. Now you're stepping into another person's perspective. So I won't say rules. What I will say is a prime directive, a unionized goal. And this is why. This prime directive is, and yeah, I'm 100% borrowing from Star Trek here. Under no circumstance should you interfere with the development or growth of another person's perspective. That is vital, because our identity, our entire core of who we are, is completely risen up and built off of our identity, our perspective. Our perspective is the summation of who we are, of what we are. And it is built off of our own logical line of truth. So that when someone else comes along and rummages through our perspective, cherry picks, and then dumps it, what that ends up doing is that is your logical line of reasoning that your entire world and you and your identity is built upon. And we live in a society where you walk up to somebody and in a very vulnerable action, you give your perspective. And instead of receiving a person's perspective with respect, we tear it apart, we analyze it, we criticize it, we gaslight it, and then we dump it without any acknowledgement of what we've just done to the other person, without any accountability for what we may have done. And because we don't know what that other person is going through, people are really good at covering up their pain. They're really good at hiding things. They're really good at laughing along, even though they're dying inside. They're really good at that. So we'll see their laughter and we think we're fine. We don't realize the damage we've caused. But at the end of the day, perspective abuse is one of the most rampant toxic things that's going around today. And our entire identity is built off of perspective abuse. So the only rule, the prime directive that I really want to put forward here is, going forward, a perspective is absolutely to be handled with extreme respect and care. That, because we're going to be bringing in a lot of people. And when we bring in a lot of these people, when we start bringing in this massive amounts of just coming together with this union, we're going to be seeing a lot of people with a lot of different perspectives. We're going to have people interpreting the energy, because this is not a science. This is not a factual, I've got the answers, now we're looking at competition. And that's the problem. Clearly, that's where the current society is going so wrong, is that divide and conquer, pit them against each other, make them fight. Sometimes, I know this. I feel like the government did this on purpose. If we're fighting amongst each other, we can't organize and rise up against the government. And that's it really, is they have caused so much fighting amongst ourselves that we're ignoring, that we're not aware of the real problem. So that's, aside from perspective, respect for perspective, I don't really want there to be rules, because I expect and I believe everyone else will self-govern. That being said, I'm only looking at accepting 6 perspectives and higher. 6 perspectives and higher. These are people who have learned and accepted and ethically internalized the first 5 ethics, including self-government and accountability, with the ability to integrate dependence with independence.
Yeah.
The other 2, just to say them, is resourcefulness and self-nurturing. So once you have these first 5 ethics integrated, internalized, then yes, we are looking at a golden age. We are looking at world peace. We are looking at a place where we're not fighting amongst ourselves. We're collaborating, we're talking. And we are definitely looking to push the world into the next stage naturally with organization. But if we're going to organize, we have to be better at organizing peace more than they are good at organizing conflict. And that's really it. We need to start organizing peace if we want it. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's such a great place to start, with the perspective, respecting other people's perspectives. And I think I may have made that mistake today or last night, but you made me rethink it. And that can be a case study. I can interview you about that topic if you want on the show at another time.
Oh yeah, you know I'd be down for that. Absolutely.
On that topic.
Yeah.
Just so more people, so we can dig into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of words. It's absolutely the words we use on a regular basis. It's the subtlety in the words we use. For instance, if you are using the word you, that's a projection. Almost every time. Every time the word you comes out of your mouth, it's a projection. Which is, there's a lot to it. We could dig into it. Lace, yes?
Leia's trying to get back in.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There we go. Thank you, Lace.
You're welcome.
All right. Hello again, Leah.
Hi, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine.
My carbon monoxide alarm went off. I left the gas stove slightly open.
You okay? Are you safe?
I'm safe. I'm terrified, but I'm safe.
Have you cracked a window?
Multiple. I think
Good.
I opened about 8 and then I panicked that my cat ran away, but my cat was hiding in the
Yeah,
garage.
as long as you're safe, cat's safe, and you've opened the windows, you should be
Everyone's
fine.
safe.
And you've turned the
Yes.
stove off?
Yes, I have.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
Excellent,
I'm
excellent
sorry.
execution. Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm glad you stayed safe. Okay, so I believe that's it for the thesis as far as this is why we're here. What would, and I'm huge on this. This is like my 3 main questions that I love to ask everyone. My first question is, how did you come upon the energy? What is your energy story? The second question is, in a day of world peace, what would that look like for you? There's a reason why I'm wording it specifically that way. And the reason why is for manifestation purposes. Because when you start analyzing, depicting the details of what world peace looks like, if you can draw out in a story precisely what a day in world peace would look like, that is manifestation. You start to grasp it, you start to get closer, but you got to think about it. You've got to give it detail. You have to flesh it out. What would world peace look like for you? What would it feel like having a world of world peace? We say, oh, I want world peace, when we really mean to say, I wish the fighting would stop. But what does it really look like to you? And this is where I absolutely adore John Lennon's song Imagine, because that to me is exactly what world peace would look like to start. But yeah, absolutely. What would it look like for you? The third question is, if you have access to a 2-year-old or somebody younger than 2, ask them if they remember and how it feels to be a baby. This is my own personal research. I'm collecting this data, but I don't have access to a 2-year-old.
I have answers for you, actually.
I would love that. What does it feel like to be a baby?
So, okay, I am a nanny for 6 families right now. So I've asked multiple of them, and I haven't asked them directly. Like, it always came to this conversation. So the other day, I was watching Isabel, and Isabel decides to tell me, when I was a baby, Mom took me to Disneyland, and I was like, okay, when was this? And I started like asking her questions, and then later when she went to bed, I asked her mom, when did you take her to Disneyland? And her mom said, like, when she was like, what was it, like 6-7 months, like 6-7 months old.
So a
And
2-year-old can remember 6
Yes.
and 7 months.
Yes, but the thing is,
Yeah.
I was talking to Eden. This was about this was a few weeks before. Remember the wedding I told you about?
Mhm.
I was talking to Eden, and Eden is 3.5, almost 4.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just casually talking to her. And the thing is, we're at a wedding, so I asked her, because I know she's the second child of this family. So I go and ask her, when did mommy and daddy meet? Like, I'm asking her questions like that. She's like, I have no idea. Like, she didn't know any of it. And so I proceed to go ask the mom later that night. I asked her, so when did you guys meet? And they said Eden was about like 1.5, and it could be time, it could be photos, because personally I remember memories from 3 to 4 years old, and I'm 18.
18, 3 to 4. Yeah.
But
Okay.
I don't know if it's due, like,
It would be the
even-
perspective gap. No, that's what it is.
Exactly.
It's the perspective gap. We can only maintain or retain a certain amount of memory for a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And the reason why I ask is because that first ethic is an unknown to us, because we're not infants, and infants don't talk. And the second perspective, we're able to talk to a 2-year-old, and we're able to get more data. So we have the second perspective down. We have everything else, but that first perspective is a mystery. So in order to figure out precisely what the thing is, that first perspective creates, one moment, that first perspective creates attachment disorders.
See,
That
my mom, the situations I'm telling her about, some of them she has visual record of photos, videos, but I've talked to her about stuff that she's like, how did you know that? And like no stuff that no one talks about, or stuff that I haven't, let's see, seen videos of or couldn't comprehend them. Like I understand what specific people said to me and stuff like that, and what was this person wearing, and
right,
like and stuff like that. But
right,
some memories are more vivid than others. For example,
yeah,
the happy memories as a kid, I have a lot less of those than like
right.
trauma.
Yeah, we're definitely going to need access. I'm definitely going to need to talk to 2-year-olds. I think 2-year-old and under would remember. And yeah, by
For-
the time they get to 3.5, 4, they're out of there. So it's got to be 2 years or younger.
For
And
sure.
the
Yeah,
reason why is because adults who have attachment disorder problems, avoidance, if you have a problem with addiction, self-mutilation, or eating disorders, and also if you struggle with self-regulation, emotional regulation, and comforting yourself, all of these are contributed to the first ethic during our first year of life.
for
And
sure.
to resolve these problems later in adults, we have to get inside the perspective of a 1-year-old. And in order to do that, we're going to have to listen quite humbly to the 2-year-old giving what information they have about what it's like being a baby. I
For
need
sure.
to interview 2-year-olds. That's really where
You
I'm at.
tell-
So,
if you
I mean, my cousin's almost 2.
you
excellent.
totally can. And if you tell me what questions you want me to ask the kids,
I
can
will write up the questions. That would be phenomenal. That would be
I'll
fantastic.
for them for you. You're gonna get a
Because
lot.
yes, because when it comes to the best thing I can think of is a child has to, an infant, that first year you're basically a paraplegic without the ability to communicate, completely dependent upon other people. You're excluded. You can't walk, you can't run, you can't stand, you can't communicate, you can't do anything. It's frustrating. I remember my children when they were in infancy just screaming out of frustration. And I noticed that when you have an over enabling parent, the child never reaches the point of suffering to get angry enough to change. So
See,
as a result, their speech is delayed.
See, the thing is, there are some kids, yes, with like major speech delays. Like I have a kid that I babysit that's about 1.5 and can only say like very simple words. And I like, and their siblings can fully talk, like full speech. But
Yeah.
the thing is, usually the kids that I watch that are under 2, their
Mhm.
language barrier is not great. They usually cannot explain what's on their mind. They cannot
Yeah.
communicate it. By 3, these guys are babbling nonstop. So I think if you could like expand your research to maybe an early 3-year-old to 4-year-old, that's where they kind of don't stop talking.
Okay. All right. That's something to keep in mind, definitely. The question really is, what does it feel like to be a baby? Like, was it, and this is where I'll go over it later with you, because you don't want to lead the questioning. You don't want to direct it. Leading the witness, so to speak. This is what it's called. It's when you plant the idea in their head without even knowing if it's an element. Like, did it feel frustrating? Did it make you feel annoyed, or did it make you feel lonely? Now that's planting an idea inside the head. That's leading the witness. So you don't want to ask questions like that. You want to ask, what does it feel like to be a baby? Or do you remember? Or what's the earliest memory? So you want to leave open-ended questions, and you want to focus on their feelings.
Exactly.
And that's really it. We'll come back to this later. I'll write up a little thing afterward and I'll send that to you. But that's one of my questions, because the more information I have on that, the more we can get into that first ethic. Because like I said, that first ethic holds the key to attachment disorders, comfort, self-regulation, addiction, self-mutilation, and also eating disorders. It's all in that first ethic. Now, how you came into the energy is another big one. I want to start hearing people's journeys of where was that moment in their life when they realized, whoa, there's something bigger than me out here. What's going on? Now, this is, and then the other one, of course, is the manifestation. What does world peace look like for you? So on the energy, this is how I see it. This is my perspective. I see the electromagnetic field as being this massive body wrapping around the world and all over through the universe. And this body, this person, is, in my opinion, the universe. Now, you've got some people in early anthropology who popped up in, let's say, Arabia, the Middle East. You had other people popping up in China, and you had other people popping up in Celtic and Ireland. Now, they're all on the same person. And the people in Arabia start creating a religion and a culture based off of the energy that they're feeling over in that area. The people over in China start depicting a religion and a culture based off the energy off of that area. And the people in Ireland are creating their mythology and their religion off of the energy on that. But we're all, it's equivalent to being on a body. And let's say the people in Ireland are at the head. The people at China are at the left arm. And the people in Arabia are at the belly button. So we start comparing little stories. Hey, Arabia, what's going on over there? And they describe their culture and their religion. Now, they're just describing the energy based off of a belly button. In the meantime, China starts describing, no, you're all wrong. This is what it looks like. And they start describing a left arm. And then the Irish start contradicting them, saying, no, you're all wrong. And Ireland starts describing hair on a head. And instead of the competition, divide and conquer, right and wrong, what if we start describing the different body parts of all the different locations and all the different areas, and we start piecing them together like a giant puzzle so we can get the big picture of what this thing really looks like? That's what I'm going for. So this is where I'm going. I have all of this information. It's like every one of us has a puzzle piece. Some people have a lot of puzzle pieces. Some people have only one or two puzzle pieces. But every one of us, our perspective is a puzzle piece. And if we start arguing over whose piece is the right piece, now at the same time, I'm going to keep the puzzle box and I'm going to turn that picture away from you and say, you don't even get to see what it looks like. So all you've got is your little itty bitty piece from a 1,000 piece puzzle. And you're going, this is right. This is the right one. And the person next to you is going, no, this is the right one. This is the ultimate piece. And I'm going, guys, can we connect the pieces and see what we're looking at? So this is where I'm wanting to know, where did you find the energy? What does it look like for you? What is your experience? Now, likewise.
How do you know if you found the energy? How do you know what that feels like?
I love that question. You know you found the energy when it feels like there's something going on. When you just, there's something there. And science is not explaining it. And when religion isn't explaining it. And you're going, and there's things happening, like a lot of deja vu. A lot of,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Bevan. You're fantastic with this. How did it feel like for you?
Okay. Well, I think I'm getting it. I'm understanding what you're getting at. So, because what I'm thinking of, well, one time I looked up in the stars into the cosmos, right, and I felt connected with the universe. That's one of them. Yeah, because what I'm getting at is this thing. I think I'm just asking you it as a question. Is it like how you think things and then it happens in your world? It's kind of like how if you start, because you said something's going on here. So is it like you're waking up to that your mind and the universe are connected intricately?
It's the universe. No, society tells you that A is the answer. Oh, I got this. Let's go philosophy. I got to switch my philosophy brain on. Okay. So here's how it goes. Here's how it goes. Scientists come along and say, this is the answer. And the scientist gives you A. And then I grew up Baptist Christian, so I'm going to use that as an example. My family came along and said, Christianity's the answer. There it is. Logically, there's some things that aren't being answered. I'm going, well, wait a minute. If this is the answer, then why doesn't this make sense? And I look at the scientist and go, well, wait a minute. If this is the answer, then why doesn't this make sense? See, scientists, in my experience, I need the word, just give me a second, that invalidate spirituality. Christianity, in my experience, invalidates science and promotes religion. And then I'm over there studying Buddhism. And Buddhism, I have my personal opinion, I have a problem with how they handle anger and emotions. That being said, I'm noticing that they're kind of right. And for me, Christianity is kind of right. And scientists are kind of right. But no one is 100% spot on right. Now, that to me is what I call a logical fallacy, because when you are right, you are 100% accuracy rate. No one so far has an accuracy rating of 100%, which tells me they don't know what's going on. And at the same time, I'm feeling energy. It feels like when someone walks into a room and you know that you are not alone. And when you ask the scientists, they say, that's your imagination. Well, that's gaslighting. And then you ask the Christians and they say, well, that's Satan or God. And then you ask people who are into the chakras and the energy, and they say, oh, you're picking up on the aura. But then men of science and Christians then gaslight that and say that's witchcraft. And the scientists say that's garbage. And so I'm sitting here going, at the end of the day, when somebody is in a room with me and I'm not alone, I know I am not alone. And there's no explanation for it at all. But there's more. You notice that every time there's a full moon, your emotions are absolutely pulled and ripped apart. You know that when you emotionally shift over here and it feels good, and you stay true to yourself, that it feels right, even though it contradicts everyone else telling you what they think is right. Suddenly, they don't look so right. Now the question is, what is this? Because no one's giving me an explanation. So you know you found the energy when you feel like you're connected to a bigger something out there, and it's moving with you, and it's reading you, and you have a relationship with it, and you have no idea what she is. But she's there. In my world, she's a she.
I think I can
yeah.
kind of like elaborate on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, please do.
I'm gonna connect it to 4th grade. That's when we had our first group project as kids. And my teacher put she put me in a group of my girlfriends, and you know, when friends are friends, we all work together. And we all like get the job done and everything. And so we finished our presentation, we did great, it was awesome. My second group project was me alone with a group of boys that I was not friends with as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the entire time they'd fight about who's doing what part, who's doing like whatsoever. By the end of the assignment, we were there with 20 minutes left in the group project. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do it all. If you guys aren't going to do it, I'll do it. So, yes, I was we got to get this done kid. Very perfectionist, I'm not letting anyone down kid. But so I guess the connection could be your relationship with others, like the love.
Yeah, that's part of it. For me, that's part of it. Bevan, you too?
Because I'm also, sorry?
Yeah, I'm just going through, I'm confirming everyone. I'm trying to include everyone. Go ahead. Yes. Yeah.
So, personally, also, I'm in a lot of choruses and I've been in a lot of bands all my life. And when we were kids, if you put us with, let's say, another band or another chorus that we've competed against in the past, like to perform all together, it wasn't really good. It wasn't put together. Us musicians, we were not connected. But now, for example, if there's a performance or a competition or something against another school, I guess you just get to know them first, see their compassion because they're there for the same reason as you, and then just become friends. Well, not friends, maybe just acquaintances because we forget about them after that day. But after that, it's kind of just like, oh, okay, this guy's trying to do the same thing as me. So you end up cheering them on, singing together as if nothing ever happened between you guys, and just go with it, I guess. And I think that feeling you're talking about could be the love.
That's it. That's a really, it reminds me of when I was at Allstate. I was in Allstate, and I got there, and it was a bunch of strangers, and we sang together. We spent 2 amazing days powerhousing through music. It was extraordinary. And when it was all done and said, within less than 12 hours, we had put together some of the most amazing choral work ever. And then we cranked it out. Now, there was no competition. It was camaraderie. And it was like a brotherhood. It's the same feeling I have whenever you go to a movie theater. I remember this with Ragtime. I was sitting in the theater in the audience, and I laughed, I cried with these strangers. And when you're done with the theatrical performance, you walk away from the play and you feel bonded to everybody that you laughed and cried with. Holy crap, I've never spoken these words out loud, but it's there. I felt like they were my kin because I laughed and cried with them, even though I didn't know any of them. And when I walked away from the experience, I was going, why aren't we bonding over this? We just experienced a play together. Well, because it's New York and there were like 500 people. But it was like this, wow. But now flip that around. When I was on stage and I was a player, I was 6 weeks working with people, 6 weeks working with what were started off with strangers. We were creating this theatrical production. And then we had 3 nights where we put it on and we delivered and we put it out there. And we bonded with the audience as if the audience was one. And it was like this massive, we made them laugh, we made them cry. My God, do I love theater. And this is why. It was a shared production of story, and where you come together with strangers and you experience that. Now you go to a movie theater and you're in the audience in a movie theater and you're watching a movie together. It's the same thing. You're crying and you're laughing with strangers. And it bonds you. After COVID, we got away from that because it wasn't safe to go to a theater. But yeah, we lost it, didn't we? Extraordinary. Right. We did. We stopped bonding over theater, cinema, and stage. The theater and the cinema and the stage vanished after 2020. It still hasn't recovered.
Yeah, I've noticed that's not the only thing that's vanished, actually.
What is it?
Usually we get, okay, this is probably a very stupid comparison to this. Wow, I can't talk. But previous years, we've had trick-or-treaters come for hours and hours on end, like 6 p.m. to like 1 a.m. and they wouldn't even stop when you turn the lights on and you needed to sleep the next day, but you're still getting trick-or-treaters. This year, 2 kids came to my house. 2 kids.
Yeah, nothing's ever really bounced back. And you know what?
Yeah.
I think that's part of what we're feeling is COVID happened in 2020 and we lost theater, stage, cinema, trick-or-treating. Everything that was community lost, and we disconnected. And we're all screaming, this is it. I think we're all screaming, going, what's going on? We want to reconnect.
Yeah, we got to reconnect.
But we don't know how. And this is what my research has been doing for the last year and a half, is how do you reconnect this massive hive mind? Because COVID destroyed it. And I think
we can connect one-to-one. I mean, as a small, like when you watch, I meant as a starting place for individuals, they can connect one-to-one and they can start to make more.
You know,
because when you're watching the movie, you experience the same emotion at the same time as people. That's why we were bonding.
Agreed. Same emotion, same frequency. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Same emotion, same frequency. And also it was the spectrum. It was the vast spectrum of emotion. So it wasn't just like
and the shared story, as you said, but it's also perspective. See, because you went through that story, they didn't just see the movie; they also experienced it.
There you go. You just said shared perspective.
And perspective, because their perspective changes, it grows.
You have no idea. Oh, you just okay. So let me
evolves.
Oh,
which is our consciousness evolving.
Oh,
expanding. Yeah, go ahead.
this
Yeah.
this is okay. So this is the other half of my research. So you have two individuals in relationships. This is how my work works. You have an individual with perspective A. You have an they're pink and blue. This is perfect. Okay, you have an individual with perspective A, an individual with perspective B. The blue represents the girl, and the purple and pink in this place is going to be the boy, because I say so and I want to be different. Now, you have these two people come along in society and they meet. When they meet, there is individual perspectives. After they get to know each other, they develop dreams and plans and goals. Now you have a shared perspective. And this is what builds relationship, is the shared perspective. That is what you are referring to when you are in an audience. You are in a relationship with these people now. Story provides us with the platform of the shared perspective among many. It's the missing piece that I was needing. I'm going to propose story circles. Like, I want to do this. Where are we on? We're on a Wednesday.
About peace. Like you say, what does the day of world peace look like for each person? Yeah, we share our stories. We build it up into bigger stories.
God,
we're sharing them, right?
Love
So now
that.
including each other in the stories, or sharing the perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonding.
No.
And minds are coming together and get the mastermind, and then our minds are becoming more powerful together.
All right. That's fuel. I'm so excited. You've got
mastermind. See, because you get the mastermind going. It's the number of people groups squared, I think, or cubed. I don't remember.
Thank you. I was looking for her. I was just checking my phone. All right. Thank you for joining us again, Leah. All right. So here's my proposal. This is what I want to do. I want to start a workshop. I wouldn't even call it a workshop. It's a story circle. And this goes back to ancient man. We are talking old anthropology. Now, you can come for the story, or you can come as a storyteller. Doesn't matter. So your role is either going to be player or audience. You do not have to tell a story. You have to come with a story. Can be sad, can be funny. It doesn't matter. It can be anything you want. I'm thinking once a week. And this is I'm going to give you the foundation, and then I'm going to elaborate on the plan. We're going to start with story. Story, I know story is the key to all of this. I know it, because she won't shut her mouth about tell your story. So here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Way back, many centuries ago, not long after the Bible began. Sorry, quoting a musical. So we would all sit around campfires and we would all tell story. We would laugh, we would cry, and that was literally the only entertainment we had, was the annual or the evening where every night we came together around the campfire and we would talk. This is why people go camping, is because you put yourself a fire and you all sit around the fire and you all tell story. In the year 2019, that last Halloween, we had a fire pit going, and next to the fire pit, like about 8 feet away, I had my little witch's corner where I passed out the candy and the cider to people. This little child, about 2 years old, in his little costume with Iron Man, walks right past me like it's nothing, gravitated right toward the fire, plopped his little butt down around our fire, and just helped himself. And it was amazing. The adults all laughed. The parents were like, oh my God, I am so sorry, because this is old. This is old. You do not join a fire pit unless you ask or are invited. And it doesn't matter. It's like so deeply ingrained into our brains. I remember it was last year, last Halloween, last October, I was at this Halloween thing, and we were all, it was cold, and everyone had like their own, there was groups of fire pits. And the fire pits were public, but there was this one that had space at it, and there were 3 people already there, and I wanted to warm my hands. I asked, may I approach your fire and warm my hands on your fire? And they said yes. And then I was able to go in and warm my hands. We are talking like the primitive, the very first ethic. And then, oh, that's interesting. Interesting. Anyway, and then I warmed my hands and we shared. It was like instinctive. I'm there. I had to tell them a story. So I told them a little story about how I came to be there. I thanked them for letting me warm my hands, and I parted ways. Likewise, when you're walking through any kind of a campsite, you do not approach someone's campfire without asking permission. It's a violation of the highest order. You don't do it. And when you do, there is an etiquette. You ask before you approach someone's fire. And if you sit, you are expected to join in song, celebration, or story. You had better bring something with you. Gifting, sharing. So here this child is in 2019, randomly walking over, plopping himself at the fire. Now the adults laughed because, wow, look at the instinct. Humans and fire are like, we have to do it. The parents were mortified because their child had violated the first order of law. You do not approach a fire that is not yours unless you've been invited. But because he was 2, it was adorable, and he was dressed as Iron Man, so he was wanted and welcomed. And it was extraordinary to watch this massive level of instinct just come together. And now we're at this point where we've been broken. Our government has literally divided and conquered us. 2020 happened. We are completely isolated and we're starved. So I am going to propose a campfire where we talk. We literally treat the entire workshop as if it were just a campfire. We bring our story, we bring our perspective, and we just talk. You are more than welcome to just come and listen, just to listen to the stories. Laugh with us, cry with us, just be part of it. We're going to start there. This is going to be part of my Authenticity City. And I'm definitely going to be like, I want to do this almost on every Friday or on a Thursday, something. Yeah. You can sing, you can dance, you can put on a show. You don't have to. You can just be in the audience. You know, it was also that same year, it was that October that I was, it was where I saw somebody's fire and I sat down with them and asked them. It was that same weekend where I spent the entire weekend with girlfriends, and we just sang, and we did like an open mic night where the 2 of us just took turns performing Broadway musicals and dancing ballet and theater numbers. And the third one of our friends just was the audience. And it was really a solid bond of just coming together and sharing story just to bond us again. That's it. And it's the story that shared in that emotional community. It's almost like that's why we go to church. The preacher is giving a story, and we just want to be there to have the same shared perspective of story. Story is shared perspective.
That campfire idea is amazing. I think it would go great.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a good place to go, is shared story, shared community, just laughing, crying, emotions together. So I want to definitely launch this for Friday, and it's just a
great
story.
idea.
And like I said, it could be anything. It can be moral, it can be ethical, it could be comedy, it could be entertaining, it could be government, it could be anything you want. And you don't have to tell. You can just come and join in and listen and laugh with us, whatever. And if you want to try something you've written, if you want to write something, and you just shared artwork, doesn't matter. So yeah, it's just a community circle. The campfire. I want to call it not open mic. Let's call it open campfire. There you go. I like that. Not open mic, open campfire.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's great. It's a lot more welcoming.
Yeah.
It doesn't put pressure on like stage fright. No, because it's around the campfire.
Yeah.
It's got to have that image.
Yeah, very much. Open campfire, no mic, open campfire. And you are welcome to just share in the community of story. And this is where it starts. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start this. Today's Wednesday. Do we want to do this? I almost want to do it on Saturday. I almost want to do this on a Saturday, maybe. Next Saturday. Yeah, this coming Saturday. I think that's, yeah. And I'm thinking 6 o'clock. Let me see. That would be the 4th of November at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's anyone who wants to join. That's just for the open campfire. On Mondays, I'm probably going to do the weekly meetings for idea execution, and let's start building the blocks of, okay, let's get this together. I don't know if weekly meetings, I kind of want to do weekly meetings because I think getting the right mindset is where we need to start. And then from mindset, it goes mindset, community, getting everybody on that same vision, that shared dream. We need to talk about that dream. And then how are we going to make this happen? Then we'll brainstorm. Oh, finally, thank you. You guys like just unplugged, like you unblocked the mental blocks I've been having. So thank you so much. Brainstorming and then problem solving. There you go. So here's the order of operation: mindset, community building, shared dreams, brainstorming, problem solving. That's how you get to change. That's it right there. So
yeah. We have to care about each other. We have to know each other. We have to trust each other in order to open up and start moving forward. So that's
Agreed.
why we need the trust first. So the campfire and sharing stories is great, because stories are the unit of human understanding. Like, it all goes back to stories.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. No, that is it. I have been in 2015 when I started my company. It was I'm a published author. I've got 4 books out. I'm an award-nominated author. I have done so much psychology work on why are we so attracted to story? What is our obsession with story? And it kept coming back to that. Every year I would reanalyze it. I would have panel discussions. Let's talk about story. It's Anna's annual. Let's talk about why story is so important. And yeah, this is it, because story literally brings us, it's the core of our community. So I want to do this on Saturday, November 4th. We'll do that. And then the following Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will do the next Union Lightworkers meeting. There you go. I love this. And that's when we'll cover mindset, community, shared dreams, brainstorming, problem solving. And I won't have, not yet anyway, let's just building blocks, and let's just get this started to cultivate, and we'll go from there. There you go. How does everyone feel about this?
Great. Excited. Feel really good.
Yeah, I feel excited
It
too.
sounds amazing. I definitely want to be part of this.
Yes, absolutely. Now, if you have guitars, if you have any portable anything, singing. I did not sing, did I, Leah? I told you I would sing. Yes. Yeah. So yeah, anything at all. Oh my God, I'm excited about
You
this.
caught me right beside the guitar.
Yeah, absolutely. Lace, you sing. Yes, I know you sing, Lace. Would you be open to join us on Saturday for our campfire chat, our campfire, open campfire? Oh, I'm so excited about that.
I would, but I have to work on Saturday.
That's understandable. Yeah,
My friends,
absolutely.
a lot of my friends will definitely be interested in this, though.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. I feel momentum. Oh, I love physics. I feel emotional momentum toward a goal. Yes, I feel better. I'm very excited. How are you feeling, Bevan?
Yeah, definitely. Well, like that. Yeah, it's good to see you are excited and happy.
All right.
You know, I got an idea for an excitement website. It's,
yes.
It's because it's what's it called? Anyway, it's about excitement. I'll share things on that I'm excited about. The niche of one idea is that whatever you're excited, or whatever you are passionate about, or whatever you're into, is there's other people like that too. And then of course they would be into it too.
Yeah,
reciprocity. So
if you make that an app, I think a lot of people would be interested and would send a lot of a positive version of social media, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
because social media is not positive right now.
Great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, you can take the same thing out, because I realize that thing's kind of like Facebook, right? But if you just make it so each person can have their own, and they put what they're excited about, but that's the whole thing. Because we want to follow our excitement, we want to act on our highest excitement. So I want to share excitement with others. The reason is so that they get more excitement. That's why I do Awaken the Fire Within.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I noticed.
Fired up. Yeah. So it's connecting with excitement. So I'll share mine. I'll when I find someone doing something exciting, I'll share it on there too. So it's a portal to connect with excitement. So it's awesome.
I noticed
idea. So others can do it too. I don't know how to do it, but yeah, that's a good idea.
I know.
We'll make it work. We'll make it work.
No, I know how to do it.
You know how to do it?
Yes, this is my study. This is my psychology.
That's
I
crazy.
know how to do it, I was missing an excitement as the linking emotion. I hadn't studied excitement yet. When I was talking about transmuting anger into action, excitement is the emotion that was linked. So we have the psychology of reciprocity, basically, is what it is. What you're doing is you are mirroring me. You are fueling off of my excitement. Now, this is sharing. Are we ready? This is how it works. I am giving you my emotional, it's positive, and I'm giving it to you. This is actually me taking my authority and making myself vulnerable because I'm giving you part of me. Now you can receive it and you can run with it, or you can reject it, you can ignore it, or you can become hostile. But instead, you've received it. You're now excited. I've passed on the energy onto you. Now you have it. You're now fueling and you're building it up, and you're giving it back to me. So now we're doing this, basically. It's laddering. Now we are emotionally connected. This is it.
Yeah, Leia did it, and Leia did it too.
Yeah.
And this is what I was excited about when I was a little kid. It's one of those things. It's when you bounce ideas back and forth with each other, like being creative. And this is what we just did. Because I love doing that. And see, now we've met, and we get to do that.
Now we just need to put people into our soup, our stone soup. Okay. See, stone soup is one of my favorite stories. Do you know the story about stone soup?
Yes. Yeah, because she gets people to add another thing, one thing.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna tell the story just for the audience because I love this. So once upon a time, a man comes to a village and everybody has resources, but nobody is sharing. And there is a man and he's like, hey, I'm hungry. I've been on the road a while. Would you care to share your food? And they're like, no, everyone was stingy. Everyone was very standoffish about it. So he said, all right, I got the salt. He goes out into the forest and he picks out a stone from the river, he washes it off, and he comes back and he says, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to go ahead and make some stone soup for everybody, and I'm going to share it with everybody. So he pulls out a cauldron. Actually, he doesn't even do that. He says, I got the best recipes for stone soup. I got a stone. It's the best thing you'll ever taste. But unfortunately, I don't have a pot. So the first person steps up and says, you know what, I've got a large cauldron. If I loan you my cauldron, well, and he says, if you loan me your cauldron, then I'll share it with you. She said, sure. So she goes and gets her cauldron. They build up a fire. He puts the stone in it. They add water. He goes, wow, it's really cooking now. This is amazing. What would really be great is if we had carrots to put inside of this. And someone pops up with, well, I've got carrots. Oh, well, great. If you add your carrots, then we'll go ahead and share it with you. So he goes, gets his carrots, and he very excitedly throws the carrots into the soup. And it's cooking away. And he goes, this would be really, really great if we had potatoes to put in there. Eventually, it builds up. They add salt, they add parsley, they add basil, they add all these ingredients. By the time it's all done and said, the entire village has contributed a resource to stone soup. And they're all sharing the soup and coming together. It's easily one of my favorite stories. That is exactly what I've been trying to pull off here. But I needed people to pull together because I'm going, what's going on? And honestly, I think COVID did this to us. I think when COVID happened, we disconnected from story. And now we're going, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on is we lost story, and now we got to get it back. So this is it. We're going to do our campfire.
And community.
Yes.
We lost community.
Yeah, exactly. And we were so unaware of it that we couldn't identify it. So let's stoke the fires. We're going to do, on Saturday, we're going to do the community open campfire. And tell everybody, invite anybody who can jump in. Lace, if you want, I will still send you the video after, and you always have an open invitation for anything that we have. And if you want, we can I think I like that idea of moving it around on different nights during the week. That way, if there's somebody with a strict working schedule, they'll be able to attend no matter what. I like that a lot. I think I like that a lot. Yeah.
My schedule is every week, and it's constantly changing throughout the week because I have idiot managers that don't know what they're doing with the schedule.
Yeah, I call that illogical insanity. Yeah, you are a victim of illogical insanity. We will figure out a way to get you in here. Absolutely. So, and I've got your email now. So anytime we do a workshop, you're going to get at least notification of it. So just come when you can. Absolutely. Okay. So yeah. Absolutely loved having you here.
I have an idea though.
Yeah.
Because like pods, right? See, once you have the idea, anyone could host one too. So if you allow it to grow, because then it can be at a different time of the week.
Yeah.
So it's a simple idea, and so people can do it.
Yeah. No, this is not. I definitely want to Yeah, basically it's pass the torch of, oh, who wants to host it next week? So we'll do a community host of if somebody else wants to host on a different, absolutely. That would actually take a lot of pressure off of me. That would be phenomenal. That would be awesome. So yeah, I love that. Absolutely. Okay. I'm all set here. Did
It's
anyone
not
want to?
exactly what it isn't exactly what I meant, but that's good. That works too.
What
I
did you
meant
what
that
did you have in
also
mind?
Oh, I just meant it can scale up. There can be more groups. So
Oh
because
yeah.
time didn't work, right? Okay, but then people can take the same concept and do it,
Yeah.
right? So they just need a template. If there's a template, people can copy and paste it, and they can adapt it if they want. But just to
Oh,
make it
I see what
people
you're
to start,
saying.
they can make their Zoom group. They can do the
Yeah.
campfire.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
see what I mean?
I see. Yeah. And I mean, most of the work I do already is template based. So I'll just get more templates and
Okay.
I'll just, yeah, that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, I'll write down the psychology of what this is and what precise the order of operations is to pull this off, because it doesn't work unless you have story, unless you have the shared perspective. And basically I'll write down the psychological formula. And that way people can just go in and plug whatever they need whenever they need it.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, and the freedom of the individual, freedom for all individuals, and respecting their perspective, as you
Yeah.
said, that
Yeah.
prime
The
directive.
respecting.
Of
Yeah.
course, that's in all of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It only works with the respect of everyone's perspective. And it's listening. It's called listening to learn. As if it's that puzzle piece example I gave, where you have everyone has a piece, and I almost want to start every session off by reminding you have a piece to the puzzle, and your piece might be fantastic, but it doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It means that if we're going to see what this big picture is, we need to put pieces together. Now, this is another big problem that I have had, as my frequency is 100% Irish energy, Celtic, Scottish, England, and Scandinavia. So that is 100% where I am tuned in. That's my frequency. So when somebody comes to me with the Akashic records or another religion or another frequency, it actually hurts me. Now, I can listen subjectively and be like, okay, that's nice, but I can't add it to my knowledge base because it is not on my logical thread. I am at the head, you're describing something at the toe. It might be a toe description, but it definitely does not resonate with my story. And it would actually cause me harm if I were to add it to my logical line. Vice versa, if I were to try and force my perspective onto you, it might hurt you. So it's being mindful. Oh my God, this is conscious awareness on such another level. It is being mindful that even my perspective could cause you harm. I don't want that. This is another perspective. This is another ethical lesson. This is accountability of preserving your mental safety. That's it. And so it's yes, let's look at each other's perspective, but definitely don't force them into each other, because your logical lineup is not going to match mine. You have to decide if my story is a good fit for you or if it's just a bit of entertaining for you. And that's it. Is it going to entertain you, or is it going to actually be added to your collective? And that's where perspective abuse comes in, where we are forced to add to our collective when it's not supposed to be. That's something very mindful about. So yes, that's part of it. Okay. All right. I'm very excited. Very excited. Okay. All right. I'm all pumped up, ready to go. All right, I'm going to go ahead, and I have nothing else to add. I'm ready to close it up. How does anyone else need the floor? Have anything else to add? Okay. All right. I'm going to go ahead then. Thank you so much for joining me, everyone. I'm going to go ahead, terminate the conversation.
Thank you for having us.
You are very welcome. And Monday next week, we're going to do the next union workshop. And then the one following that, or Saturday 1st, we're going to do the open campfire. And then Monday, we're going to do the next union workshop. So thank you again so much. And thank you very much for joining me.